run. Now we're going to see a little four-wide action. Crazy out of the triangle.
Oh, he gets in the lead on the record.
3x3 entering four.
3-2. At the flag stand, side by side, it's going to be Jason Maines winning it at Talladega.
Hello everybody, welcome into the NSRA Sunday Select Series live from Daytona International Speedway. Actually, Legacy Daytona here tonight as we get ready for another great Sunday night of racing. Appreciate everybody tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Drivers got the engines fired. Pace truck is getting ready to roll off. And let's head right down trackside and get with some of your pre-race ceremonies. Kicking off the starting grid here tonight on pole is going to be Sean Stevens in the 27 truck. To his outside will be Les Levy. John Guerra starts third. David Overstreet in fourth. Joshua Gathright will start from fifth. He'll have Rob Connors to his outside in sixth. I believe that is one of the new drivers in here tonight. Bubba Winningham and Vicente Guerrero, last week's winner, going to be making up row number 4. Dana Osborne in ninth. And it's going to be Cody Nagels rounding out your top 10. Michael Triscaro, the rookie, will start from 11th. He'll have Alex Giffen to his outside in 12th. Robert Jordan in 13th. Russ Hancock in 14th. Robert Morrison back in 15th. It's going to be, looks like another new driver here tonight, Dean Viney. He will start in the 16th position. Dusty Burkhart will start from 17th. Len McNeeson 18th. And Dean Wilkinson rounding out the field tonight for 19 trucks. Getting more into where we're at. Of course, Daytona International Speedway, but a little bit of a different look. Old Daytona is how most guys like to refer to it, and indeed it is 08 Daytona. Track temp today starting us off is going to be 121 degrees, still 2.5 miles. Banking the same as it is on New Daytona, but it is a lot bumpier, and that is going to call for, I don't think we're going to see too much three-wide action here tonight. And bump drafting, you have to be a lot more careful with it. Already completed a race here in the Xfinity Series, but the truck's a little bit lower to the ground, a little bit harder to handle. We'll see how they get around this place tonight. It's a PitStall 200, 80 laps, 50% fuel. Everybody's going to have unlimited tires, 2 fast repairs through 80 laps. Fixed setup as always, and 2 green-white checkers if we were to need them, but hoping that's not the case tonight. And last time we were actually here at Legacy Daytona in the Xfinity Series, overall it was quite a clean race, and I feel like out of the 3 different tracks we head to between New Daytona, Talladega, and this track, definitely didn't think this would be the one with the least amount of cautions, but everybody's going to kind of slowly be feeling it out of the gate and through the start of the race, trying to feel where their truck feels like it handles the best. The bumps on the bottom is what really makes things get a little sketchy, and we'll see that for Sean Stevens here as he works his way down into turn 1 and 2 for the first time. And John Guerra, will see how good of a push he can give to that 27 down the straightaways to try to get him clear now. The top line, David Overstreet, along with the 62 of Les Levy. It should be a little bit less bumpy up top for these two, but nonetheless, they're still going to have to do a lot of pushing to get by the inside, and with a hot track temp, it's not only going to make the grip less as the track is slick, but it's going to make the temps for these trucks climb a lot faster. Pace car makes the hard left turn through the restart zone, and green flag is in the air. We're racing at Legacy Daytona. And at the completion of lap 1, it is going to be Les Levy in the 62 truck completing the first lap lead here of the night. And that outside line, they tried to get some momentum down the front straightaway there, and actually lost a lot of help after that third truck in line, the 00. And that is Rob Connors. But the 32 had to catch up, and actually that's a good-looking scheme on the 32 here tonight. Just trying to figure out exactly who that is. I don't think the number is matching up with their official number. We'll figure it out, but how about we hop on the cockpit view here early for Alex Giffen in the 99 truck and kind of break down for you just how bumpy this track is. I mean, see now, he's on the top line, and he can see the other trucks bouncing around, but you try to hold it down, and as the tires wear out, that's where it gets a little tricky. It really wants to slide up the track, and if you're one of the guys on the bottom, such as the rookie, Michael Triscaro, you will not be in the throttle the entire time around this place like you would at Talladega or New Daytona. It's just not going to handle. So as they get down into one here, lets out as he goes over that first big bump. Now he's back in the throttle, and then you hear him just playing with it a little bit as he goes over all these bumps, and man, the trucks do not look like they're handling too well. In fact, we got an onboard here tonight for Michael Triscaro. And not only is he working in the truck in the game, but watch his hands here as they go through turn 3 on the driver cam. Gets down into it and definitely using a lot more movement. While the movements are very subtle, it's a lot more of them than at most of the tracks that we head to here. Michael Triscaro, though, going in the positive direction. He currently is up 2 positions from where he started, sitting behind the 8 truck of Dana Osborne. Just behind Michael now, looks like Alex Giffen was the one in the 32 machine here tonight, normally the 99. That's a good-looking Camping World paint scheme. Just behind him is the 343 truck of Russ Hancock. Bubba Winningham now going to fall back to 10th just in front of these two, and they're side by side for about 6 rows deep before they single file out. And I think that single file line is all guys that just want to play the conservative strategy right now, and a little early to get aggressive. But the 62 of Les Levy and David Overstreet, got to think these two are probably helping each other out a little bit. Good friends through the series, and they're trying everything to see if they can't get that 62 truck clear. And Overstreet's going to duck down, try to give him a push. And, ooh, we already have some coming to the pits here. What a strategy we got playing out here. But I believe this is going to be some of the Limitless guys. Again, we don't have any actual teams, but there's certain guys that work together more than others. And everybody in this group you see trying to work together each and every week. Vicente Guerrero, Michael Triscaro, Cody Nagels, looks like Robert Jordan as well, and Robert Morrison. And we'll see how they bail out of the pits. I mean, 50% fuel gets you about 16 laps in the trucks. Actually, I would say maybe give or take, maybe around 15. If that's the case, still seems a little... Actually, that might be right on cue. You figure if these guys can make it 75 laps in whatever it be, 4 stops or so, and then this would be that extra stop 5 laps in to get you from 75 to 80. And so them trying this early strategy is the biggest thing, is that they're going to have to get all the guys that came into the pits, get them to group together, and they need to start making up some time here in a hurry. And we'll see how the rest of the field reacts to that strategy. Looks like nobody else thought about pitting this time. Everybody's going to stay out. Les Levy now able to get clear to the bottom. David Overstreet will take over on top. And the 00 has the 89 now behind. Glenn McNeese up here as well, but sitting further towards the back. And the 89 truck here tonight of Joshua Gathright. Good to see him out here, having a pretty good run. Currently exactly where he started, no gain, no loss. But further back, you saw Alex jump up to the top line behind Russ Hancock. And Les Levy being on the bottom now. Man, that truck is really bouncing around. A lot of fishtailing going on for the 62 as he tries to hold it down on exit. And now we're going to continue to watch the gap between Cody Nagels, whichever guy they have leading this pack, which as of right now, it looks like it's actually going to be Vicente Guerrero, in the back bumper of Dean Wilkinson, who is the last truck in this lead draft. As it stands right now, the leaders are still actually making time on these guys, and I think that's because these, well, what's going to be 5 are all still trying to get grouped together. They like to make sure that everybody can stick with each other here. But Cody's going to have to do a lot of extra pushing, and, you know, I like this call because this isn't one of the tracks where you can just flat out push around the whole track. There's a lot more risk versus reward on. You really don't want to be pushing a guy in a corner. Even doing it too much down the straightaway can be a little risky. But Cody and Vicente, they've got a lot of chemistry between each other. And we'll see if that chemistry is enough to push them all the way back to the front. Still keep an eye on that gap. And now that they've all got linked up, it's starting to trim down a little bit. Right now, the gap is 32.5 seconds. We'll keep an eye on it again. They're not going to be able to catch this pack before they pit. But the main goal is just going to be to try to make up as much time as possible and maybe separate themselves, so that when this pack here does finally pit, they can try to leave them in the dust. 8 laps in now. That first pit stop going to be coming in probably about 8 to 9 laps from now. And now leading the way on the bottom is the 00 of Rob Connors. Him and David Overstreet were both able to drop to the bottom in front of Les Levy. And up top, the 89 of Joshua Gathright is looking to see if he can lead a couple laps here early. He's got a push from the 71 of Dean Viney. Dana Osborne in the 8 truck behind him. Been having a couple good runs this season, still looking for that first win. And we talked about the man that got the win last week, though, of course, Vicente Guerrero. DJ Thomas, Vicente felt like should have got the win here tonight. And the reason I bring up DJ is because we don't see him out here tonight. I'm a little bit surprised of it. Of course, the rookie that got the win in the opener, season opener at Daytona. And has been showing a lot of promise. Heard a lot of guys talking about he should be moving over to OP at some point here with the amount of skill he's got. But he's trying to put his mark and run for a championship here in NSRA Sunday Select Series first. Michael Triscaro, of course, one of the guys that pit with that second pack. He is currently sitting third in line, continues to get better and better with each race. Potentially one of the most, if not the most, impressive rookies so far this season. And looking at that gap right now between Vicente Guerrero and Dean Wilkerson, they've cut it down by about a second. Cody is a great push to have behind you no matter where you're running on the track. And as long as Michael Triscaro continues to stay close, Cody's going to continue to push. Now, we'll see how they decide to cycle out if Cody eventually gets hot on whether or not they just have Vicente fall to the back or if maybe Cody's the one that drops to the back. Or nonetheless, just try to stay in line and manage it. But now they've got it down to almost 30.5 seconds, and they are making up quite a bit of time. Almost a second and a half in just the last 2 laps. Overstreet still leading the inside now. He actually made a move to the outside, and that's going to give him the lead back over the 89 truck. Joshua Gathright, who I thought maybe was going to make another move out there, but he won't. It's the 00 of Rob Connors, sure will. Again, the NSRA Sunday Select Series still looking for new drivers. You see 19 trucks, a little bit of a small field, but they are looking for guys throughout the entire season. So if you know anyone that's interested, they can certainly get in here. Just contact us or check the description to get in the NSRA Discord and get some more information on it. 00 is now going to jump to the bottom in front of David Overstreet. That puts Dana Osborne in charge on the outside line. Only 3 trucks up top, though. I think that's signaling pit stops here and probably about the next few to handful of laps or so, as we are now 11 laps in, going to be 12 the next time by. And the biggest gain here that Vicente Guerrero could make would be, and actually this whole group, is if they stay close enough together, and they're pretty tight right now, and that once this other group does come into pit, they're able to get within distance where they can't catch the draft. So if the group that's still out right now, once they pit, if they come out and they can't catch the draft of these 5 trucks, then I would say bearing somehow no cautions throughout this entire race. The strategy for Vicente Guerrero, Cody Nagels, Michael Triscaro, Robert Jordan, and Robert Morrison would be the winning strategy here tonight, and be a battle between those 5 trucks and how they want to sort it out later. But again, 80 laps is a long ways to go at a track like Daytona without any cautions. As we take a ride on board here now, with Rob Connors has the best view. There's a look from the gyro cam. You can see it's even bumping around quite a bit. Dana Osborne just behind him. Another guy that hasn't been able to tuck in line just yet. He's trying to do it the hard way by getting the lead. And there's Bubba Winningham in the 66, third on that outside line behind the 71 of Dean Viney. Les Levy in the 62 in front of Sean Stevens. Wow Video Tour, sponsor of not last race, but the race just before. Of course, last week's was the Chevy Land. I believe it was 212 or 225. As the distance here when we're at Daytona is going to be a little bit shorter than Talladega. Both races would be 80 laps, but Daytona is about 0.0. Not take back, it is 0.15 miles shorter. Nonetheless, speed still very fast. Since, in the old truck model, these guys used to actually run faster here, which made things that much more complicated. But in the new one, not sure if that's so much the case. Let's take a look at the dashboard speed here for Rob Connors. Actually, let's look for David Overstreet, as he's the first guy in the draft. And yeah, the speed's definitely not nearly as fast as they get at New Daytona or Talladega. Only about 183 by the end of the back straightaway. You compare that to what we saw going into turn 3 at Talladega, upwards of 192, closer to maybe about 194 miles an hour. And Vicente Guerrero has the gap now down to 28 seconds off the back bumper of Dean Wilkinson. He is making up a ton of time here as it stands. And there's part of the reason, going down the back straightaway into 3, these guys, the speed difference from what we saw at the front of that first pack to this pack is about 3 to 4 miles an hour. And that adds up over the average of a lap, and doing it multiple laps. But Dana Osborne up front that time was able to get a little bit better speed up to about 186. And taking a look at the weather outside in case you missed it at the start of the race, it's that track temp right now, 123, that has the handling being a little tricky for these guys and making it really tough to push. And now everybody single file except the first two trucks in line. The 00 was able to find a spot. Bubba Winningham, not sure if the 89 of Joshua Gathright decided to let him in. And actually, excuse me, Joshua Gathright probably, I think, let him in. For a minute, I got the 00 and the 89 confused, but if Joshua did let him in, he's going to have a friend in his pocket for later. Meanwhile, on the outside, Dana Osborne is hoping somebody will let him in, and he's just going to slam the door right there on Bubba Winningham. Again, not sure if Bubba was one to let him down, but Dana certainly was able to close that door while it was available. That's going to leave the 71 truck of Dean Viney all by himself. He's going to eventually shuffle here to the back until someone lets him in. And again, looks like the 89, Joshua Gathright, continues to try to make friends early. He's going to let that 71 drop in, and as we're going to be coming to lap 16, I would say with almost certain confidence we are going to see most pit stops either this lap or next lap, as I don't think anybody can really go much longer. And here we go, working off of turn number 4. Nobody's going to go in this time. Expect to see him this next lap. And so as they all stay out, that'll be one more lap that Vicente Guerrero and company will have to try to make time. And they've got it down now to just under 26 seconds for Dean Wilkinson. And this is going to be really, really interesting to see how much time they're able to gain once this group pits. You see right now they're all separated by about half a track. And as we go back up, Rob Connors roaring down the back straightaway. Expect him to pit this time. It's going to be a lot of trucks all trying to make it down the pit road speed at the same time. And sometimes that's where you can run into issues. We'll have to see if the 00, along with everybody in this single file draft, can make it in clean. You don't want to get yourself in trouble early, especially when there's a chance of everybody getting as separated as they might be after this pit stop. And the chances for a caution are at their lowest. Here we go. Everybody's going to make their way down to the pits here, being led by Overstreet. And as we look at different camera angles here, so far so good. Lock up there from the 68 of Overstreet. But I think he was able to get it down to pit road speed in time. And it looks like the rest of the field, at least gauged from the TV3 view, was also able to do the same. So Overstreet's going to be the big gainer from that. Almost was able to get by the 00 on the entry to pits. And as they all work their way into the box, this is the camera angle that we're going to keep an eye on. Watch for that group being led by Vicente Guerrero. And, oh, man, they are going to absolutely smoke these guys on time. Look at that. These guys haven't even left the pits yet, and they're going by. They still got to get up to speed. What a strategy call from the Limitless guys. This is going to give Vicente Guerrero the lead, and I mean by plenty. Now, to be fair, they did have to take a lot less fuel. I will give them that credit. So we'll see if that ends up maybe fixing the issue later in the run. But, man, for now, it's looking like that was certainly the right strategy call. There's Dean Viney, the last guy out of the pits. Len McNeese, Dean Wilkinson, and everybody else are within enough range where I think they'll all kind of catch on to each other and be able to draft. And so now the cat and mouse game is almost going to switch around. Dana Osborne currently being scored as the leader of what is now the second draft, the guys that all just came into pit. And currently 9 seconds back and falling from the back bumper of Robert Morrison, the back truck in this lead draft. And we'll have to see, can he get his group all riled up now? Right now he's only got help from one truck, the 89 of Joshua Gathright. Rob Connors, though, and David Overstreet will be there shortly. Les Levy, and Bubba Winningham. Not sure if he's quite within range to catch the draft. He does have Dusty Burkhart and Sean Stevens pushing hard behind him. And so as it all settles out with everybody being back up to speed, the gap in question is going to be 10.4 seconds between Dana Osborne and Robert Morrison. Next pit stop for these guys right here is going to be in probably actually getting ready to pit here. Remember, they came in on lap 5, so they're going to have to pit here right around lap 20. And when they do so, that's going to separate them again, and they'll try to do the same strategy of just making up a bunch of time on the group that pitted late. And the flip side of the strategy at the end is we should see the last pit stop for everybody in this group right here, all of these 5 trucks, probably somewhere around lap 65. And the group that pit late, I think we'll see their last pit stop probably around lap 75. And that's really the lap where it's going to be, did the strategy work out for one group over the other, or do they all kind of just blend and merge back together? Taking a look from the blimp cam, there's Robert Jordan. Robert, one of the guys that, man, you really want him to get a win. He's had such a great season in terms of consistency. He's always up there with the speeds, able to execute on pit road. But a lot of bad luck, and man, it comes in waves at super speedways. Sometimes it's just meant to be, and sometimes it isn't. And ooh, Robert Jordan really had to bail out of the throttle right there as he got really tight to the center of the quarter. That causes a checkup for Robert Morrison. And those little checkups right there is the thing that could potentially cost this front group, but they've stretched it out to, looks like 11.5 seconds here. Actually, we'll go back a little bit further to Dana Osborne, who is currently, about 11 seconds between Dana Osborne and the back bumper of Robert Morrison now. And this front group, as they come around, taking a look at Lake Lloyd and the packed grandstands down the Daytona super stretch. This is lap 20, so they are either going to be coming in this lap or next lap. But I would have to think this time based off when they did last pit. And they might be able to go one more, like I said, if they want to. And then this group here, you can see they have all single fought out. I think there might have been some communication between all of these guys. Pretty big discord they got right now, and I think some of them might have been saying, hey guys, we're really going to need to get lined up. That group pulled a lot of time on us. And they're on a complete different strategy. And there you go. Looks like the first group is going to all bring it down to the pits. Vicente Guerrero leads them in. It's a clean entry for all of them, assuming nobody got a penalty. Cody Nagels is going to go by the 14 before he's able to drop in line. The rookie Michael Triscaro will come into his box. And that front group is going to go around. Question was going to be by how much, but it's plenty. And so now how quick can these guys get on and off the pits? Cody Nagels and Michael Triscaro going to be the first two to drop the jack. Now Vicente Guerrero does as well. Robert Jordan, Robert Morrison did not quite get the best launch from their box, but they're all going to have to group up, so they'll wait at least for Robert Jordan. Ooh, Robert Morrison pretty far back there. We'll see how this group decides to go about it. I'm not sure if he maybe decided to take 4 tires if the rest only took 2 or what happened. You definitely have to make sure you take 2 tires at every pit stop here at Legacy Daytona, potentially 4. I think if we have any cautions, that'll be everybody's chance to take 4 and reset. I mean, you got unlimited tires. You might as well. The biggest situation with tires is you just don't want to lose too much time waiting on them. And so as this group tries to get it all sorted out, looks like Robert Jordan was able to tag on to Vicente Guerrero pretty quick. And unfortunately, they're not going to be able to pick up their 5th teammate here tonight. And Robert Morrison is just a little bit too far back right now. They would lose a little bit too much time. But these 4 trucks going to get together, and 4 trucks is still enough to make some time. Right now, the gap from the front bumper of Cody Nagels to the back bumper of Dean Viney, and actually go to Dean Wilkinson here as he's the first one in the draft, is about 21 seconds. That's pretty good in terms of the time that they were able to make on and off the pits. And remember, it was about 25, I want to say, before that green flag pit stop cycle. And so the next stop for this group right here is going to be somewhere around lap 35. And then up front, the group that already pits, but pitted later, expecting their next pit stop to be somewhere around lap 30, at about 7 or 8 laps. And as we approach the lap 23, man, that was a close call right there. It's Dana Osborne. Not sure if he meant to do that or just a little bit of a stack up, but he almost turned around the 0-0 of Rob Connors. Was able to check up, though. Bubba Winningham cut him some slack. And this group does continue to run single file. We'll take a look at the lap times. The problem is I just don't think they're quite making the lap time they need to. 49.4 for David Overstreet and 49.2 the last 2 laps. Let's go down and compare that right now to your leader of the second pack, Cody Nagels. It looks like it was a 48.7 the last lap, and that was, of course, still getting up to speed. I think this lap's going to be the big telltale sign. But yeah, David Overstreet up front with a 49, and actually I take that back. That's still faster. These guys were at a 49.5, and Cody was still able to run a 48.7. Now, granted, he's getting a good push right now from Michael Triscaro. We'll see if these two can work together just as good as Cody and Guerrero did. And there you go. Cody gets to his back bumper into the tribal, and he might even be able to push him through the tribal. Yeah, that's a nice push right there from Michael Triscaro. Offsets him just a little bit to the right to make sure that that truck doesn't get too uneasy through the tribal, but he's still able to maintain momentum and give him a big boost down the short chute into turn number 1. So the gap continues to decrease. And, you know, if everything continues to cycle out enough, which you start to eventually wonder is on what's going to happen here, as Dean Wilkinson did catch to the back of that draft. It's currently a gap of, I'm trying to look at it here, about 22 seconds. But again, they're closing it pretty quickly. And if we cycle enough, there's maybe a chance that they could catch the draft of this front pack. If they were able to do that, then this race would be all but over with no cautions. But right now, I'm telling you, Cody is one of the guys, he loves green flag pit stops. So does Vicente Guerrero, Michael Triscaro, and they are all hoping that all of these guys can keep it clean. And through that first pit cycle, a little important note is that nobody really got separated from that lead group. There was a lot of guys that all came into pit together. Usually when we see that, there's a little bit of struggles of everybody staying together on exit and once they all got back up to speed in the draft, but everybody was able to stick together. And so that has created what looks to be about a 13-truck lead draft right now. It's still David Overstreet leading the way. Les Levy in second, Joshua Gathright third, Rob Connors in fourth, and Dana Osborne rounding out your top 5 at Legacy Daytona. It's the PitStall 200. We'll be right back. Stick with us.
Ghost Racing Network now has merch. Go to grnmerch.com to browse our selections from stickers to custom-made by request hoodies and shirts. If you've ever wanted to support Ghost Racing Network outside of YouTube, here's your chance. Ghost Racing Network, for the scary side of iRacing.
Back live at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway for the PitStall 200. David Overstreet still leading the way. Not much change since we went to break. I think maybe the biggest storyline was Robert Morrison going a lap down after being on such a good strategy with some of the guys such as Robert Jordan, Vicente Guerrero, Michael Trosquero, and Cody Nagels, but just wasn't able to hold on after he lost the pack. The draft costs you so much time in terms of if you're not in it. And speaking of some interesting things that have developed, Dean Viney is, I think, another guy that's potentially in danger of going a lap down. I'm not sure actually what happened here. Dean Viney is tagged onto the back of this pack, being led by Cody Nagels. Not sure so much how he fell back there. He must have lost the lead draft either through a penalty from the pits or just maybe wasn't able to come out as fast as he needed to. And we are approaching lap 30 right here, so I think we're either going to see the pit stop this lap or next lap. And it looks like they're not going to come in this time as they work their way through the trial, so I would expect it this next lap right here, as that'll be 30 coming to 31. And Les Levy will lead him in now. Each time these guys pit, it's going to get more and more tricky. The tires are going to be more and more worn out. So we'll see. Overstreet got in a little hot last time. He was able to get it down to pit road speed, but maybe a little too close for comfort. And so this time we'll see if he decides to back it down a little bit earlier. And it's a really big bump when you come out of the pits here. And you're already on old tires, so they kind of have a tendency to want to spin. And if you spin your tires at all and hit that bump at the same time, it's a recipe for disaster. You could spin yourself out on exit, cost yourself all sorts of time. So they're going to probably come in this time, and looking at the gap, it was down to 18.5 seconds. And yeah, here we go. Maybe no. They're going to go ahead and stay out here yet another lap. Remember, these guys all pitted on 15, coming to 16, I believe it was. So they're going to have to come in this time. I don't think they got much but fumes left in the tank. But, man, each lap that they stay out, I continue to think it's actually hurting their strategy overall. I mean, Cody Nagels and them continue to make up what's been, I would say, over this run, probably over 4 to 5 seconds worth of time. Just pushing harder than these front two. I mean, David Overstreet and Les Levy, they're doing pushing, but I guess it just must not quite be as much as what Michael Triscaro is doing to Cody Nagels. You see David wash up in the corner. That there is probably hurting their momentum a little bit. The goal is going to be to try to stay as tight as possible through the corner. For that's Cody. No pit stops yet. They continue to stay out. I wonder if these guys have saved a little bit of fuel or something. And this group up front, take a look and compare the lap that we just saw there, kind of from Les Levy's point of view to Michael Triscaro's point of view, both the lead pusher. Cody holding as straight of a wheel as he can. I can't imagine how hard it is to really line a guy up for a push when you're on a track this bumpy, and every time you think you're square, the truck starts bouncing around and you can't really tell anymore. But Overstreet doing a nice job of it, and so is Cody Nagels. That long single file line currently being rounded out by Dean Wilkinson still in the 55. Len McNeish just ahead of him. Russ Hancock in the 343 truck 11th. John Guerra in 10th. And as we get back up closer to the front off of turn 4, here we go. Going to see the pit stops this time. Overstreet again will lead them all in. Can they all get in clean? And actually, I think we're going to have a couple stay out, interestingly enough. Ooh, the 66 of Bubba Winningham got in the grass a little bit. Had to slow down a little bit more, but I think he's okay. The 89 gives a little shot to the 8 of Dana Osborne, trying to carry as much speed as possible through the pits. And looks like Les Levy was able to get into the boxes to get himself ghosted. And, oh man, the 8 of Dana Osborne, unfortunately, because of that, overshot his box. So does the 66 of Bubba Winningham. And this is really going to hurt these guys on exit. Taking a look at the pit lane cam. And your track map, where's the group being led by Cody Nagels on the back straightaway now? Actually, I think they'd already went back around. Yeah, sure enough, they did. So, I mean, the gap that they continue to create, and they're actually going to be, yeah, they're halfway down the back straightaway here. We'll kind of have a relatively good idea on the gap that they've made so far based off when the other guys are able to get up to speed. But here comes the rest of the group that haven't pit yet. Alex Giffen, Russ Hancock, and Len McNeice. It's a good thing that there was at least 3 of them that stayed out. Otherwise, they'd be in danger of losing the draft. And Cody and company will go by these 3, but they should be able to tag on to that big pack that just pit last lap. And now the 8th position of Les Levy. Looks like he took over the lead from David Overstreet, and only 2 of them really come out together. Here's a little bit of pack racing between the 27 of Sean Stevens, the 00 of Rob Connors. And he's getting a push right now from the 55 Dean Wilkinson. The longer these guys race, the more it's going to break them up. Is we have not seen a lot of 2-wide action here tonight. Saw it off the initial start, but that was pretty much it. And the biggest reason for that is just pitch strategy, right? I mean, it's really taken over here. Cody decided to lead some of the guys he's been working with tonight down early. They all followed suit, tagged along on the strategy, and man, it has been working well so far. Still all going to come down to that final pit stop. But I know I continue to say it because it's going to continue to matter. Look at the gap right now on track. It's about half a track, maybe give or take a little bit. And that's kind of around where it seems like it's been hanging. But if they can come out of that final pit stop ahead of this group, I think it's going to be all over. And you look at the gap right now between the back bumper of, actually it would be Robert Jordan and Les Levy. It's about 21 seconds. And we'll see if Cody and company can extend that, or if maybe these guys can try to do the opposite this time and close it up. Overstreet and Levy, though, by themselves, that's really going to cost them a lot of times. You need at least 3 trucks, which they're going to get here shortly, as it looks like the 89 has caught the draft of these 2, Joshua Gathright and I think Sean Stevens, Dana Osborne, John Guerra, the 00 and the 55. They're all within range too. So before the next green flag stop, in fact, I would say within the next lap and a half to 2 here, these guys are all going to start to merge back into one big group. And we'll see if they decide to stay single file again or if they decide to get a little bit more racy. And with Cody still leading, I think it's a good time to maybe talk a little bit about the points and the schedule, 2 things that we would normally bring up later in the race, but it's been a tame one so far. And so speaking of the current point situation, if you will, after last week, Cody Nagels is still leading in points, and I mean by a pretty big margin. 7 starts, he is at 146 to the good. And Vicente Guerrero with the win last week moves up to 2nd, 92 to the good. Michael Triscaro, the rookie, sits 3rd in points. David Overstreet 4th. Bubba Winningham in 5th. Dusty Burkhart in 6th. Oh, here comes Cody's crew. And that's about right on cue, so we'll go ahead and hold that thought for just a moment. Because these guys, you got to remember, they last pit on around lap 20. And so they're hitting their mark. Next pit stop for them is going to be projected to be probably right around lap 51-ish. And then they'll pit on lap 65 for their final stop. So this group has 2 more pit stops to make, and the other group, I believe, is going to have 3. And there they go, roaring by, about 185 miles an hour. And this time, though, the gap got smaller. Cody and them, they did not come out all that far behind. I'm telling you, there is a chance that they end up catching this draft and beat them at their own game. Looks like Vicente Guerrero is going to be the lead pusher now. Him and Trisquero will switch. The only bad side, and this continues to happen, is they're going to unfortunately lose another teammate through this round of pit cycles. It was Robert Morrison the second cycle, and the third cycle here, it's going to be Robert Jordan in the 74. Was having a great night. Still has potential to be a great night, but he's probably going to need some help in the form of a caution. As, yeah, you can see he's just nowhere close. And actually, are they going to have... They're going to have Michael Trisquero lead here? And, oh, they might be waiting. I've seen this game before. They are. Yeah, sure enough, they're waiting for Robert Jordan right here. This is a very odd strategy that you would not see at most super speedways. As Dusty Burkhardt has had an issue, by the way. Looks like we have data that he may have had a problem, but this amazes me at the strategy that these guys feel like they're able to pull and make it work. And you can see Jordan now at 170 miles an hour entering the tribal. He is going to get a draft off of Vicente Guerrero. And so this is interesting. This is going to cost them some in the short term. We'll see if it maybe ultimately works out and helps them some in the long term. And it's not often that you say there are guys purposely slowing down at a super speedway to help other guys out. And where is Robert Jordan coming off coming off of turn 2? And so I'm not sure if Cody and them have just decided to speed up and said, you guys will catch us, or if they're still trying to wait a little bit longer until Robert Jordan and Vicente Guerrero can get back in the draft. Let's take a look from the cockpit view here. And it looks like, yeah, Cody's still waiting a little bit here, 167. Yeah, he's still waiting, trying everything for Robert Jordan and them to hurry up and catch up. And up front, this is really going to help the efforts of this leading group. In fact, the gap between, and then, well, in this case, Michael Trisquero on the back bumper of that lead pack, which would have been Bubba Winningham. Remember, they had trimmed it down to about 18 seconds. Well, unfortunately, now it's up to 25, almost 26 seconds, and they're still losing. And, man, if things go sour at the end of the race, you got to think this is going to be the moment they look back on, as Robert Jordan and Vicente Guerrero have now finally gotten the draft. It's finally go time. We'll have to see how much time they can make up, but they certainly had to waste about 2.5 laps right there waiting for a teammate, and they're really going to need Robert Jordan on that final pit sequence as well, as 4 trucks is going to move a lot faster. Rather, 4 engines is going to move faster than 3. But Les Levy continues to lead up front, and these guys may be pushing a little bit harder now that they know there's a chance that the strategy for the Limitless guys is not going to work out, or at least may not work out after they had to wait for a teammate. 27 of Sean Stevens with the WOW Video Tours. Looks like Chevy Silverado here tonight. Sponsor we talked about earlier a couple races ago, but he almost had a chance of getting a win in his own sponsored race. Nonetheless, got a good finish. One of the OP guys, he knows how to get it done on super speedways. And we'll see what he can do here tonight. He's still looking for his first win of the season. In fact, a lot of guys in this front pack are. You look at Les Levy, he's looking to get his first win of the season. So is David Overstreet, Joshua Gathright, Sean Stevens, Dana Osborne, John Guerra, Rob Connors, Dean Wilkinson, Russ Hancock, Len McNeese, Bubba Winningham. Everybody that is in this front pack is still trying to get their first win of the season. And they do have Michael Trisquero, the rookie, leading. Cody is a great leader and a great pusher. Question here is going to be, how straight of a wheel can Michael Trisquero hold? Cody's going to have to do a lot of pushing, maybe a little bit more pushing now that gap's been created. It got up to 26 seconds even. And now they're slowly working on trying to trim it down a little bit. We'll see if they're able to do so. 42 of 80 laps now completed. Going back to the discussion of points, I think we left off. Bubba Winningham was currently sitting in 5th for points. Dusty Burkhardt in 6th, Robert Jordan in 7th. But you go down closer to the cutoff, and it looks like Les Levy, Dana Osborne, Robert Morrison, Dawson Wise, all guys that are right around that bubble right now. Dawson Wise was not here tonight, so this is going to hurt his chances a little bit. And then as we take a look at the schedule of where we're going to head next here, looks like next week we're going to head back to Talladega Superspeedway, I believe. Yep, sure enough. And it's going to be back to the Xfinity Series. Week after that, so we will be in the trucks at Daytona International Speedway for a night race. And that'll be followed by another trucks race back here at Legacy Daytona, Talladega, and the Xfinity cars to wrap up the regular season. And then the All-Star race is going to be the separation break. Will be the ARCA cars in an LCQ format, and that will also be at Talladega Super Speedway. Going to be a fun one. Back up front, taking a peek here at David Overstreet's. Still the lead pusher right now. It ducks out to the right, just trying to keep the temps cool on that number 68 machine. He is pushing Les Levy. Those two have been together bumper to bumper, which either guy's been in front for pretty much the entire race so far. And they're a fast duo. You get the feeling that if we get a caution, they have a chance to make a run late in this race. They could be contenders, if not favorites, for the win. And then you look back here at some of the guys, John Guerra, Alex Giffen even, who, by the way, had a little bit of a mistake. But he's going to need a caution, but he is currently a lap down with Robert Morrison. Alex Giffen, though, a very aggressive pusher, and we've seen that here the last couple weeks. So if he gets the opportunity to go up there and try to push somebody clear and maybe see if he can't get his lap back the hard way, I wouldn't be too surprised if he takes it. Taking a look at the gap now between Michael Triscaro and Bubba Winningham. And it looks like it is currently at about 24.8 seconds. So again, they're doing a good job of catching up. And I think the biggest thing is going to be when they come in for their last pit stop, they're really, really going to need Robert Jordan to be perfect, as they unfortunately lost one of their teammates and Robert Morrison. And it looked like there was a chance that maybe they would catch this pack on one of the cycles and try to maybe put them a lap down. Unfortunately, that did not quite work out over the run. And that was strictly because they did have to fall back to pick up that 74 truck. But nonetheless, Robert Jordan's doing a good job. He looks like he's getting into the pits fine. I'm not sure if he maybe got busted for a speeding penalty that time. But it's getting out where he seems to be having a little bit of trouble. And they're going to have Vicente Guerrero behind him. We'll see if maybe they try to shuffle up the order in the way they pit. As, of course, if Jordan had some help when he came out of the pits there, he may have been able to get up there a lot quicker. Back here, Dusty Burkhart, and looks like he's drafting with Dean Viney. These two guys with issues on the pits, and it's put them way off cycle and off of the lead pack. So bring the tower back up. Apologize for that. And so again, we have not really seen too much double file action, which is out of characteristic. I mean, for the NSRA Sunday Select Series, it seems like every race from just about start to finish, these guys are at least 2 wide, except for maybe pit stops. And a lot of times they like to stay 3 wide, but Legacy Daytona 2 wide is basically 3 wide at any of the other tracks we head to. And just, it's really felt so far like a strategy race. I mean, it got started early. Cody led a couple guys down to the pits. And since then, it's just been each pack trying to catch and make time on the other. And because of that, everybody stayed single file, minded their P's and Q's. And so far, so good. It looks like Dawson Wise actually in the chat says Limitless Boys on point as usual. Hate the DJ and I had to miss tonight, but good to see those boys still running well. Yeah, and certainly, and you got to wonder what it could have been with 2 more drivers here tonight. You almost forget for a minute that Dawson Wise and DJ Thomas could have been 2 more trucks right at the back of this pack. And Cody Nagels is really pushing Michael Triscaro. You can see the back of the truck just slightly bobbling around as it gets a little bit light every time Cody gives him a little bit of a shot. Into turn 3, Cody backs it up. It's going to cool that nose off of that 6 truck down a little bit. But as soon as they get on exit, he's really pushing. In fact, let's ride on board here with Cody real quick. It's through the tribal that it still amazes me, and I feel like this is where these guys are making all their money at. Watch this. Cody's still able to stay right on his back bumper. Gets a little loose that time and has to bail. But the fact that he is able to push through the tribal is pretty impressive. And we compare that back here. We see Overstreet as he gets into the corner, just loses the nose. Truck bounces up the track. And now he's able to get back down here and get back behind Les Levy. He'll give him a big push, but he's not able to stay as locked on, as smooth, and then getting into the tribal right here. And actually, yeah, it looks like he's starting to think about pushing through the tribal now. We'll see if that's able to make him up some time. As we are well over halfway, approaching lap 50. And the next pit stop for these guys, I would expect to be probably somewhere. I mean, honestly, if they pit on lap 50, it would get them to 65. And then they would be good to go. So we'll see. I would have expected pit stops probably around now, actually, for these guys. Any lap. We'll see if they go in either this lap or potentially next lap. But if they could stretch it to lap 50 right here, then maybe the strategy would flip. I'm trying to do, it's not hard math, but for some reason I can't seem to get in my head. Here we go. They are going to all come to the pits now, and I'll show you what this is going to do. The 27's of Stevens with a big lockup. He is going to miss the pits. Has to bail. Does a good job to keep it from making any contact with the wall or any other drivers. Looked like everybody else was able to get on cleanly. But man, Stevens just got in there a little too hot. Let's take a look back at it. You'll see the 27 from the rear chase view of the 89. And he gets a bump from Dana Osborne, who was just getting in there way too hot. Osborne makes a little bit of a late decision and might just have, not sure if it locked up on him or what. Certainly does right there. Osborne goes for a big slide, almost gets into the grass. That was a heck of a heads-up driving move by Sean Stevens to save that truck, but it's really unfortunate breaks. It's going to cost him a lot of time. And taking a look at what is now going to be your leaders, Michael Triscaro, Cody Nagels, Robert Jordan, Vicente Guerrero, all halfway down the backstretch, but some guys that stayed out. Russ Hancock, Len McNeese, Bubba Winningham. It looks like the 32 as well of Alex Giffen. He is not on the lead lap, though. They weren't quite able to go to lap 50. However, if there's enough saving that goes on here through this next run, if these guys can make it to around lap 65, they might be able to make it on just one more stop. Of course, I believe Cody and them, they're going to have to pit 2 more times, and that's where the strategy comes into play. These guys have been pitting pretty consistently about 5 laps after that big group comes in, so I would expect them to be in here probably around lap 54, lap 55-ish. But again, the sooner they pit here, the better, because all they got to make it to is lap 65, which the window is open to make it to there. And then, of course, 15 laps of fuel from when you pit on lap 65 would get you to that 80 mark. But they're probably going to want a couple laps for a green-white checker just in case we were to need one. And right now, a 50-lap green flag run continues underway here at Daytona. No pit stops yet from this front group, and it is Michael Triscaro, the rookie, leading the way. We'll be right back.
Ghost Racing Network now has merch. Go to grnmerch.com to browse our selections from stickers to custom-made by request hoodies and shirts. If you've ever wanted to support Ghost Racing Network outside of YouTube, here's your chance. Ghost Racing Network, or the scary side of iRacing.
Back live at Daytona International Speedway for the PitStall 200. Cody Nagels, you see him now just exiting the pit. So is Vicente Guerrero, Robert Jordan, and Michael Triscaro. This entire group just came down right towards the end of our break, and it's going to hand the lead back over to Les Levy and David Overstreet. But they look like they're ready to get a little racy up front. 2 trucks trying to make a run on the outside. That's the 89 and the 8, Dana Osborne and Joshua Gathright. And man, for a minute, it looked like they were going to go 3 wide there as the 00 had to run with the 55 of Dean Wilkinson, but I guess they thought better of it. No moves were made, and just as quickly as they do get double file, they're right back down to single file and keeping their heads on straight. And I think that is because these guys right here know that if they play their cards right, they should have the strategy that Cody Nagels, Vicente Guerrero, Robert Jordan, and Michael Triscaro have played out beat. But if you look at it here, we got to kind of weigh this out a little bit. We'll do that here in just a minute. Triscaro is in the draft of Robert Jordan, who got a great stop this time Vicente Guerrero, Cody Nagels already together and drafting, trying to make some headway. And as we go back, I was trying to find... Here's the 32 of Alex Giffen, still a lap down. He is hoping for a caution. Looks like Dean Viney, Alex Giffen, of course we talked about him, and then Dusty Burkhardt has also gone a lap down now. And so up front, the gap that we got to keep an eye on now, that's going to probably ultimately be the race for the win here, is the gap between Sean Stevens and Cody Nagels. And right now it sits at 8 seconds. And this is all narrowing down now to what's going to end up being that final pit stop. So even though that first group has not pitted yet, the gap is going to be about 8 seconds. And actually, I take that back. Sean Stevens and John Guerra, they are not with the leaders, although they're not too far behind. 2 extra trucks, though, would just help the cause for Cody, Vicente, Trisquero, and Jordan. And once they catch them, as like I said, it's about 8 seconds, but it's closing fast as it's only 2 trucks that they're trying to catch. The gap, though, from Bubba Winningham to Cody Nagels looks like is 17 seconds. And that is the man leading, or the back of the lead draft. And so they're going to have to find a way within the next 25 laps to make up 17 seconds. They'll get some extra trucks in the process to help their cause out. But man, it's a lot of time to try to make up, as it looks like there's another pack, though, in between that could act as a kind of a bridge. Bubba Winningham is in that pack, so actually you'd have to go even farther up. And I keep getting myself into more of a rabbit hole here, because the back of the actual lead pack that I thought Bubba Winningham was in is actually going to be the 89 of Joshua Gathright. Russ Hancock is leading the second pack that's trying to catch him, and you can see all this on the track map right there. They're currently separated by about a pair of corners, and the gap between them is 4 seconds. So the second pack, which also contains Len McNeese, Bubba Winningham, they are trying to catch the leaders, and they've got a pretty good shot at it. Again, only about 4 seconds back and enough trucks to do so. And then John Guerra and Sean Stevens, this third pack, they're getting ready to get caught and swallowed up here by Cody Nagels and company, probably before the next pit stop, as it is about 6, down to about 6.5 seconds now and closing fast. And once they do that, that'll put us to 3 main packs. But I just don't know. Again, both of these groups are going to have to pit one more time. The group being led by Cody, they'll have to pit and take more fuel than the group. Actually, let's see. They may not have to here. When they pit again, it'll be probably around lap with 15 laps to go. And the lead group right here is what you're wondering is, are they going to be able to make it about another 10 laps? If they can't, then they'll still have to pit twice. And I think the headline is just, there's so much strategy that it's got my head spinning. But man, it's going to be exciting when we come down to the finish. And it may be the first, potentially the only race this season that we see come down to strategy over aggression and who made the right move at the right time. But Overstreet and Levy continue to stay locked together. It's been Overstreet on the back bumper of Levy now for the last couple green flag cycles. The 0-0 of Rob Connors. Dean Wilkinson back in 4th. Dana Osborne in 5th. Joshua Gathright in 6th. Bubba Winningham 7th. Russ Hancock 8th. Len McNeese 9th. John Guerra rounding out your top 10. Sean Stevens in 11th. Cody Nagels in 12th. Vicente Guerrero 13th. Robert Jordan in 14th. Michael Trisquero in 15th. Dusty Burkhardt 16th. Dean Viney 17th. Alex Giffen in 18th. And Robert Morrison, the last truck in the field tonight, currently sitting in 19th position. He's tagging on to these 2 trucks here, Sean Stevens and John Guerra, who are on the lead lap. And looking at that gap between Cody and Sean, it is now down to under 5 seconds. And they do still have 4 trucks. Michael Trisquero hanging back just a little bit, giving these guys plenty of room to work. Vicente continues to do a great job pushing Cody. And then Robert Jordan just making sure that he stays close, provides some support. You really only have to give an arrow push and not much more in terms of if you're that third truck, just making sure that if the guy in front of you makes a mistake and fades a little bit, you can get him right back to the bumper of the leading truck. And earlier, this was much earlier, I forgot to actually go back and take a look at it. Looked like Dusty Burkhardt had some issues. This was getting off of the pits. And keep it on the 69. He's on the outside, and does he hit the bump? Oh, no. Looks like the 0-0 maybe had spun the tires and got into him. And this was what initially, again, this was much earlier, had just realized that it popped up on the data bar. And yeah, I think the 0-0 of Rob Connors maybe just got a little loose inside the cockpits. In terms of old tires, talk about there's the bump. It's right around, too, where he makes contact. Let's go back and take a look at the cockpit view. Yeah, you can see maybe he makes slight contact with a bump and it just starts spinning to the right. And as a result, he does indeed make contact with Dusty Burkhart. And I'll give you one more view of it. And that sends Dusty, boom, up the track. Spins back down. Man, that was a close call for Sean Stevens, but it was off the track, so it did not bring out the caution. And then just now, looks like we may have had some issues with the 14 machine of Vicente Guerrero. That truck now getting back on track, back up to speed. Can't tell if he's got some damage or not. I was looking towards the right side of it, and the right front looks to be good. Right rear looks to be good, but he had some sort of issue. Not sure if he just got off in the grass. Let's find out. Take a look right here. This was, and we're trying to go to Vicente right here. Drafting with the 4 guys he's been working with for a while. And, oh, Robert Jordan just misjudges it. And not sure, maybe pushed Cody up a little bit here initially. So it's going to start when Cody gets pushed up a bit. And then Vicente trying to check up. Robert Jordan just makes some slight contact. That turns the 14 into the grass. Vicente able to wheel it out. Good save. Quickly gets back up on track and is able to continue on. But that's a tough break for him and the group he was working with, as they're going to lose one of the fast trucks that they had for help. And now it's going to be down to Triscaro, Jordan, and Nagels, as it looks like Vicente is now being scored about 10 seconds back from those 3. That also hurt their gap between, it looks like Sean Stevens, who's the back. And remember, they picked up a 3rd truck in Robert Morrison, so they were able to pick up the pace. And yeah, they are now about 6.5 seconds behind, as well, it looks like it is just Michael Triscaro and Cody Nagels for now. Robert Jordan maybe just out of range of the draft, and what looked like such a solid strategy that was going to work out so well has all of a sudden fallen apart here with 19 laps to go. And so with that, I think we got to pretty much turn our head forward and focus on this front pack, because that is what it's looking like, or where it's looking like the race for the win is going to come down to. Les Levy, David Overstreet, Rob Connors, Dean Wilkinson, Dana Osborne, Joshua Gathright. 6 trucks all going to be contending, and all of them still looking for their first win of the season. So with no cautions and bearing everything go smooth on this last pit cycle, there is probably about 100% chance that we would see a new winner here tonight. Bubba Winningham, though, still leading that second pack. They're about 8 seconds behind Joshua Gathright, trying everything to see if they can catch up before this thing's all said and done. Russ Hancock, Len McNeese, 2 other guys in that pack, and then John Guerra and Sean Stevens. They are going to need a caution as they currently sit back in 10th and 11th. Too far away from that pack to have any chance of catching them. And now the fuel window to make it for the rest of the way on the race is going to open in about 2 to 3 laps. I think if you want to play it safe, I would say 3 laps. And if you want to play it extra safe, in order to have fuel for overtime, you'd have to wait till probably about 13 or 12 to go. And I don't think these guys can quite make it that long, but I certainly think that with as it's going now, it's going to be close enough to where even if they had to save a little bit, they would be able to stretch it and make it on fuel here with this final stop that we are expecting in just about a lap or 2. There's Robert Morrison. Tough break again. Started out a lot of speed, a lot of potential here tonight. Still looking for his first win of the season, but unfortunately had a bad pit cycle on his second stop and got himself trapped a lap down, and has been that way since. And unfortunately, he's currently not in the lucky dog position as he drafts with Sean Stevens and John Guerra. Alex Giffen, Dean Viney, and Dusty Burkhart all also falling a lap down. Dusty, though, nothing he could do on the lap he fell down. Some contact with Rob Connors. Only real incident of the night that didn't bring out the caution, but can't forget about the recent incident that also didn't bring out the caution involving the Vicente Guerrero. Some contact between him and Robert Jordan sent that 14 down. And now, as I mentioned, Robert Morrison, he's got a little bit of an issue here. Coming to the pitch, just looks like he overshot a little bit. Sean Stevens and John Guerra decided to go in. I think he was going to try to follow him. Unfortunately, though, yeah, he definitely got in there a little too hot. Let's take a look. Here's the 43. Was it just a late commitment here? I'm thinking it probably was. Let's go to the chopper view. He's just trying to get it woed up, and it's just not slowing down for him. Eventually just too far, locks up. I mean, John Guerra got in there really hot, too. He almost got in the grass, was just able to keep it on track. As we go back up front, 16 coming to 15 to go. We had some pit stops, and now we're going to have the rest of them. Still could be a little strategy in this thing, as you saw. Overstreet looks like going to come out not with the lead. Now actually moves back to 3rd. Les Levy was able to hold on. This group just pitted last lap. 17 coming to 16 to go. So I don't know if they're going to be able to make it. And as they'll be coming to 15 to go now, it's going to be really, really close. Now, what I do think is this group that we just saw going now, and they're actually is making their way out of pit road, it's going to be closer for them. The only problem is they may be a little bit too far behind the leaders to have a chance. We'll have to see, but, oh, man, Bubba Winningham got a penalty, and that's the worst time to have one. Been having a pretty good night up to this point. Looks like Russ Hancock may have got himself in some trouble, too. So Rob Connors, the last one of that pack that already pit's going to go by, and then Len McNeese. And looks like, trying to figure out who was with Len there. It's one of the lap trucks. It's going to try to tag along. Vicente Guerrero back in 11th. And so Cody Nagels and Michael Triscaro are going to presume the lead, but not for long. Here they come down to the pits. 15 laps to go. I think they're going to be good to go on fuel by pitting right here. In fact, I would say they're definitely going to be good to go on fuel. That's the one thing they have working for them. The problem is they got a lot of things going against them right now in terms of that first group. As long as they can make it on fuel, they're going to be good to go. And here comes Les Levy roaring through the tri-oval. Expect only fuel and maybe 2 tires here for Cody, Triscaro, and Jordan. And they are still stuck on the pits. There they go. They're going to roll out now, but just way too much time lost. Their only hope at this point is going to be either a caution or that these front guys run themselves out of gas. And again, it's going to be really, really close for everybody right here. The guy that I think is probably the safest on fuel is probably Len McNeese. But if you're anybody back here, Rob Connors, Joshua Gathright, Dean Wilkinson, even David Overstreet, there's no point in really pushing the issue yet. I think you save fuel if you need to. Make sure that you can make it to the end. And then once we get down to about 3 laps to go, maybe time to start getting a little bit aggressive. And you know what? What is this? Didn't even get a chance to see this tonight, but it looks like Dean Wilkinson rocking a little Ghost Racing Network logo on the back. And shout out to Dean if you watch this back. We certainly appreciate it. Glad to see it. Got the red Ghost on there. It's a good looking truck. And he's having a good run here tonight too. How cool would it be to get that truck in victory lane? Sits in that 4th position. By the way, he is your biggest mover so far here tonight. He's up 15 from where he started. And Len McNeese is the other guy that's been on the move here tonight. He is up 11 from where he started. And man, the 62 of Les Levy, seems like they have had him out front for all of them. And I don't know if he wants to be out front for this one right here. Always feels like you're a sitting duck at a track like Daytona if you're out in the lead at the end of the race. Man, we're starting to wind down on the end of this thing. Going to be coming to 12 laps to go right here. Do a couple laps to crank it up. Here we go. And that is going to do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up because things are just getting a little too crazy here on track. Vicente Guerrero is trying to get his lap back the hard way. Meanwhile, I think the battle for the lead is starting to heat up. These guys have been single file for almost, well, actually it has now been 70 laps. They're ready to get racy. Dana Osborne on the outside trying to get back around Vicente Guerrero. And remember, Vicente not being on the lead lap, well, I mean, technically he is right now as long as he's in the lead. But they're not racing him for position. So Dana Osborne is more than happy to sit side by side with that 14 truck. That means the 55 isn't able to get clear. And if you're Dean Wilkinson, that's exactly what you want to see right there is the 14 of Vicente Guerrero go up to the high side, give you some clean air and a chance to make the momentum work. Bubba Winningham, another truck not on the lead lap, but still in the mix. And those 4 trucks out back watching these guys race and holding their breath on whether or not they're going to wreck and bring out a caution. 9 laps to go now at the start-finish line. The lead pack is cut down now to, looks like 6 trucks still. Joshua Gathright in the 89, the last truck currently on the outside. He's trying to get something working with David Overstreet and Les Levy. And those 3 trucks on the outside, you would think would have enough momentum to get it going here in the last, as we start to wind down laps. Especially with how hot the track temp had been today. Taking one final look at it, still at over 123 degrees. As sim time, it is still 2:20. So it definitely hasn't really cooled off. Actually, I think it might have heated up a little bit. And the point of that is that you would think that outside line would start to roll. The hotter it is, the more you wear tires out. And if you're on the low lane, you're going to wear them out even more than if you're on the top line. But I'm really impressed with the job Vicente Guerrero is doing here. Doesn't seem like he's doing anything over-aggressive. He's just trying to stay out here and stay on the lead lap in case they wreck behind him. He could get back in position without having to worry about getting the free pass or fighting for it. And now 8 laps to go. Down the back straightaway, the 55 of Dean Wilkinson. You got to wonder, was he going to be the first guy to make a move? Looks like the 00 now of Rob Connors. He's going to jump out. David Overstreet going to try to push him. And if you're Bubba Winningham, you see that 14 truck. Right now, you like him being in front. You're his biggest fan, but as soon as he falls to second in line, the 14 up into the wall. He got turned. The 00 trying to save it. They're not going to save this one. It's going to bring the caution out. And the 72-lap green flag run is finally going to come to an end. And it is going to destroy the front end of Rob Connors and Les Levy, who immediately puts it in the pits. And this is going to group everybody back together. And boy, do we still have a finish that we're going to see. All right, let's take a look. Break it down for you. Vicente Guerrero, did he get pushed down? Let's take a look what happens here. Again, Vicente was not currently fighting for position, more or less trying to stay on the lead lap right here. And he'd been doing a pretty good job of it. And so you see he's got Dana Osborne behind him here. Dana dumps him off to the bottom, says you can go ahead and go down there. And then looks like Dana just creeps down and turns him. Let's take another look at that. I mean, certainly didn't look like Vicente really moved. If little, not much. You got to remember, it's so bumpy here. Guys get to have a little wiggle room. Look at his left side tires. Painting the line for the most part. I mean, they do come up a little bit. You kind of see that seam. I wish I could point it out here on a mouse, but I can't. But you see there's a little seam here that Vicente Guerrero, the left side of his tires are on. And watch them follow that seam. And they're pretty on it. They go a little bit below it, still around on it. And then if you compare that to the 8 truck of Dana Osborne, let's take a look at his right side tires here from when he puts Vicente Guerrero down to when he eventually makes contact. So there you go, puts him down to the bottom of the track. So his left sides are going to get right on the seam, and now they're going to start creeping down. Yeah, Dana Osborne just comes down. Yeah, Osborne definitely comes down. I mean, if Vicente creeped up maybe a little bit, but the 8 definitely coming down way more. And just turns the 14 into the outside wall hard, and then the 00 makes some contact out back. Les Levy is trying everything to check up the 89. Joshua Gathright, he's going to duck down to try to miss the 00 coming down. They make more contact. And then the 62, the 00 finally spin back up the track, and that's where the major damage comes into play. So that was a big, big hit for both of those trucks. Taking a couple more views of it. It almost looked identical, almost the way they both pirouetted. There's a big hit. Nowhere to run here at Daytona once you get turned back to the right. And there was the onboard view. I want to take one more view here from the nose cam of Dana Osborne. Actually, we'll go with the left front rather for Dana Osborne. He did sneak by this, but man, you got to think Vicente maybe not too happy with that. Nothing intentional, but certainly still unfortunate. And here you go. And they all pile up out back. So it brings out in, 72 laps, only your first caution here of the night with 6 laps to go. And when we go back green, it'll probably be about 3 or 4 laps to go, depending on if we get the 1 to go signal this time or not. Dana Osborne still leading the way. Dean Wilkinson in second. David Overstreet third. Len McNeese in fourth. And it's Cody Nagels currently rounding out your top 5. And inside your top 10 right now, we got a Toyota, that's John Guerra, and one Ford, Dean Wilkinson. The rest are Chevys. And as they come around to get the one to go signal right here, let's go see if we can pull in Dean Wilkinson for a quick word. Hey Dean, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. Well, first of all, we want to say we certainly appreciate you having the little ghost logo on the back of the truck, but focusing on your race here, going to be coming to 4 laps to go, it looks like, when we get the green flag back in the air. Haven't seen a lot of racing here tonight. It's been mostly single file. Strategy's been dominant. But now that we are going to get some racing towards the end, what's going to be your game plan here, starting on the outside? How are you going to get the job done?
Well, I'm just going to try to avoid that wreck that I know is going to happen with 1 lap to go. I'm going to try to stay up front and not be a part of that.
Well, on a lot of tracks that we head to, at least Talladega and New Daytona, we know a lot of guys like to favor the outside as momentum seems to surge. Now here, Daytona, as bumpy as it is, do you really have a preference on whether you're on the inside or outside, or do you just kind of try to manage it as you're in the front?
I actually prefer the inside, along that yellow line.
All right, and the last question we got before we let you go is, fuel maybe going to be a little close for some guys. Are you good to go here if we get into a couple overtimes?
Oh, I'm good to go.
All right, well, thanks for talking to us, Dean. Good luck. See if you can get your first win of the season here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
All right, he's good to go. He's geared up, and that's really interesting. So he prefers the inside. And we took a cockpit view earlier, and the inside definitely was more bumpy, but at the same time, the trade-off is usually the safer place to be if they're going to wreck. And, of course, those bumps tend to send you upward, so if you hit one on the outside line, there's a bigger chance that you're going to get into that outside wall versus if you're on the inside. So this was a huge break for Cody Nagels, Michael Triscaro, Robert Jordan, and now Vicente Guerrero, they're being trapped. They lap down because of that. So is Robert Morrison, and we still have quite a few actually lap down. They'll all be fighting for the lucky dog. 12th on back, that is no longer on the lead lap. But can Cody somehow mount a comeback? And the reason I bring it up is because we've seen him do it so many times that you almost expect that he is going to find a way to have his nose looking in clean air and potentially a chance at the win here, coming to the checkered flag. But right now he finds himself buried 3rd on the inside, so we'll see what he can do. He's going to have 4 laps to make it happen. Pace car makes the hard left turn into the restart zone. It's a short one, and just like that, green flag is back in the air. 4 laps to go at Daytona. It's a good jump for Dana Osborne, but it almost looked like he got a little bit of wheel spin. Everybody getting up through the gears. This is going to be the smoothest turn 1 and 2 that they get here these next 4 laps. And remember, if we can make it back to take the white flag 3 laps from now, this race will be official. Not quite clear. Was the 55 of Dean Wilkinson. And I don't think you're going to see a wreck that doesn't happen like that again. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Oh, now David Overstreet's in the wall in the backstretch. Everybody's trying to scatter to miss him. We got multiple trucks around now, and this is probably going to bring out the caution. And sure enough, the 14 of Vicente Guerrero, he's in it. So is the 71, the 343 of Russ Hancock. Dean Viney and the 71, just talked about him in it. David Overstreet's, his damage was pretty, he got some from it, but somehow he's still hanging in the draft. Meanwhile, up front, and this is the second draft now, as the caution did not fly for one reason or another. Cody Nagels sustained pretty heavy damage, and up front, it is now what looks to be about a 6-truck pack battling it out for the win. Dean Wilkinson fell to second on the inside. As where did Len McNeese come from? He is now leading the inside, and it's the rookie Michael Triscaro on the outside. He's getting a big push from John Guerra as they race down the backstretch with 3 laps to go. And these guys back here must feel content that they're not going to catch up to leaders because they're racing just as aggressively. Les Levy, Dusty Burkhart, along with the 32 of Alex Skiffen, who is not on the lead lap, going to go by David Overstreet and Joshua Gathright. They're going to see if they can somehow find a way to set their sights and catch these leaders before we get to the white flag. I don't know if they're going to quite have enough time. They're probably going to need a caution. But now with 2 laps to go, it's going to be the last lap for a caution. Can these guys keep it clean for another 2.5 miles? Michael Triscaro leading him into the short chute. That top line still rolling. Has been able to keep a nose out in front, but hasn't been able to get clear. However, they have the truck advantage. Robert Jordan going to stay in whatever lane he can try to help that 34 truck out more. Now the 8 is going to dive low. That'll split them 3 and 3 down the backstretch. Robert Morrison not on the lead lap, but could he potentially have a say in the finish of this race? And that second pack still battling hard. They're trying to catch, but right now they sit 5 seconds back. It's not going to be enough. Final set of corners. If we're going to get a caution, it's going to have to happen now. Michael Triscaro still in the lead. Len McNeese clear for a split second. Isn't going to take it. He stays low. Dean Wilkinson's going to have to do everything in his power here if he wants to keep that 84 in front. The run from the outside still looking good. White flag is in the air one more time around Legacy Daytona. Can Michael Triscaro, the rookie, hold on for his first win of the season? 1 and 2, Triscaro is going to hold as steady of a wheel as he has all night right here. Looking for another big push as now you see the 84 wash up just a little bit. Big bobble, another big push going to come right here, though, from the 88 of John Guerra as they race down the back straightaway. Len McNeese says he think about having to throw a block. He came so close once already this season, and now he's got another chance to see if he can get it done this time. Dean has to back off just a little bit. They're going to gear up for one final push. Out of 4, some contact. 84 is going to go around, back up into traffic. It's going to take out all but the top 2. And now it's a race between Guerra and Triscaro. Does Guerra have anything to try to duck out at the last second? He doesn't. Into the trial. The rookie's going to win it. Michael Triscaro wins it at Daytona. First win of the season. And he's going to be pumped about that one. We got him on driver cam, and I forgot to even show him. Here it is. Little fist pump, first of many. And man, oh man, they couldn't quite get back to the line clean. But John Guerra just ran out of space, not enough of a run. And Michael Triscaro is an NSRA Sunday Select Series winner. Let's go back and take a look at this finish first. Going into turn 3, everything looked good coming out of turn 4. We only had 2 of the 5 trucks that we started with here. And let's try to widen this out just a little bit. All right, here we go. So Len McNeese. Couldn't tell if it was contact from the top line first or from Dean Wilkinson. Oh, you see he bobbles up just a little bit. Bobbles a little more. Yeah, there's some contact between him and the 34. That sends the 84 down. And then once he comes back up here, other guy's going to get involved and spin. And then right here, the battle for the lead, Michael Triscaro versus John Guerra. And Guerra just had a run, but just not enough of a run to make a move in time. You got to wonder if it was Talladega. Maybe he would have had a shot at it. But there is your race winner, Michael Triscaro. Cody Nagels, you know he's going to be pumped to see his teammate get the win. But Guerra coming in second. And by the way, it looks like finishing in third place was still Len McNeese after being involved in that wreck. So hats off to Len still in that circumstance. And as we take a look at your results here tonight, as those two continue to celebrate, Michael Triscaro, of course, getting the win. In second, it's going to be John Guerra. Len McNeese finishes third. David Overstreet in fourth. Joshua Gathright in fifth. Cody Nagels, 6th. Dean Wilkinson in 7th. Bubba Winningham in 8th. Sean Stevens, 9th. It's going to be Dana Osborne rounding out your top 10. Robert Jordan back in 11th. Les Levy in 12th. Dusty Burkhart, 13th. Vicente Guerrero in 14th. Russ Hancock in 15th. Rob Connors finishes in 16th. Robert Morrison in 17th. Dean Viney finishes in 18th. Rounding out the field tonight, your 19th place finishing truck. And, actually, go ahead and correct me there, was Alex Giffen. All right, we're going to go see if we can get your top 3 in here for interviews. We'll be right back. Stick with us. Hey, Len, this is all set up for the booth. You got a copy?
I got you, sir.
All right, well, you bring home a third-place finish here tonight. Man, a couple times now this season that you have had a shot at the win on the last lap, and sometime between out of turn number 4 and the start-finish line, you find yourself caught in a wreck. So close tonight, but, man, overall, tell us how you're able to get up to third there at the end.
We really lucked up there when that caution come out. You know, everybody's doing their fuel mileage games, and I think we'd been top 10. That's probably about the best we could have done. But when the caution come out and we was able to get there, the Dean Wilkinson back there, he was pushing me for all it's worth on them last few laps, and I really appreciated it.
Well, is there anything that you can really kind of do differently as a driver at that point? I mean, of course, there was a little bit of contact. It's so bumpy here at Legacy Daytona. I mean, do you wish that maybe you would have tried to jump up to the top line at any point, or is it just kind of how these things play out?
This track is bumpy all over. I don't really think there's a safe place on the bumps, and I think that's what really kind of happened. We got in there and everybody was close side drafting each other, and I kind of bumped up into the 34. Everybody was pushing each other there. It's coming to the wind, so it was, I was hoping we'd have a shot at it, and I'm tickled for a third with it.
Well, you certainly did have a shot at it. They're going into turn number 3. Good finish here tonight. Overall, though, before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you up there in the booth for putting on a good show for us, and all the guys over here at NSRA, the admins and stuff behind the scenes that put up the race for everybody, and all the other guys in here racing. We had a good time.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Len. Congrats one more time on that third place finish, and we will see you next week.
All right. Appreciate you.
All right. I'm going to slide Len back down. I'm actually not sure exactly where he wants to go, so we'll let him try to find it. Actually, we'll put him down with, I believe, who he was talking with. And nonetheless, we're going to pull up now your second place finish, and that is John Guerra. John, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy. And we'll try him one more time here, and then we'll go on to your first place finisher and see if we get him when he gets back. Hey, John, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so, it's a good finish. A little bit of luck today, right? So, but I'm glad I could push Michael there. It was a bit tight the last 2 laps, but of course we benefited with that crash that put us alone. So it was a good race.
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't even get to phrase the question. You answered it just about perfect. Wanted to talk tonight about how every time we see you pushing a guy, it seems like you get the job done, and tonight you bring home second. Was there anything you feel like that you could have tried to do to maybe get to Triscaro out of 4, or just not enough run, not enough time?
Yeah, no. I don't think I had enough speed for that. I had him a good push there, so second is good. It's quite all right. We'll settle it.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what then. Before we let you go here tonight and enjoy your second place finish, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Well, I'd like to thank my sponsor, Diabolique, which is I work for, so they always provide me with good financial backup, so I do appreciate them. And a big shout out for the guys here tonight. Once again, a great race out there, so good job to all the drivers.
All right. Well, thanks for giving us a quick talk. John, congrats one more time on your second place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right. And, man, John seems like he's got these interview things down. Knew the answer to the question before I even got to ask it. That was a pretty impressive little interview there. And now we'll move on to your winner, though, the man that's going to be the most excited. In fact, let's see if we can't pull him up on the big screen here first. To do that, we're going to hop over to your interview screen. And that is the man of the hour, Michael Triscaro. There he is, getting ready to enjoy his victory. And let's go ahead and drag him on up here. Hey, Michael Triscaro, this is also up the booth. You got a copy?
I do, man. How you doing?
Good. Well, you get your first win of the season as a rookie, and it comes at probably the toughest track of all the ones we head to, Legacy Daytona. You find yourself at the front late. But, man, what a roller coaster of a night. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Limitless, we had a 5-stop strategy by stopping early in the race. I think we pit 5 laps in. So we were going to go an extra stop and make all the time on the track, which we were. RJ had a little blunder halfway through on pit road, so that set us back. And then I think RJ got into Vince there in the second to last run. So our strategy kind of went out the window, but that late caution helped us. I told Cody I'm going to go win this race, and that's what I did.
Certainly did. Well, now that you've got the first win out of the way, do you feel like it boosts the confidence heading into next week as we go back to the Xfinity Series?
I think so, yeah, absolutely, man. Like I won that little guy series, John Ward's, the other day. I had a race win on the officials last week. So yeah, it's just when you're hot in these things, you're hot, and it's fun while it lasts. It's not so fun when it doesn't, but I'm having a good time and starting to run a lot better than I have been. So
certainly a phenomenal run tonight. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to thank all my Limitless teammates, especially Cody Neagles, for helping me out. Him and Baker have been a big asset to me. They've helped me a lot in this stuff. RJ tonight, as well as Vince. And I have to shout out John Garrett, too, man. Without him, I don't get that win. He had some great pushes there in the last couple laps. And got the job done. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Michael. Congrats on the win. First one of the season, and we'll see you next week. See if you can go back to back.
All right, man. See ya. Thank you.
All right, and that is your race winner here at Daytona. Michael Triscaro gets the job done. That is going to wrap up our coverage. As always, I hope everybody did enjoy. Next week, we are back in the Xfinity Series at Talladega Superspeedway. Make sure you don't miss out. And until then, have a good night.